Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Demystify Selling with Microsoft. And I'm very excited for a good friend of mine to join, Vince Menzione, joining me today on the show. So, Vince, welcome.
Rob, so great to see you, my friend. And I'm so excited about this today.
I am too. I mean, I've been following you basically since the start of my journey in the Microsoft partner ecosystem and knew you from back in the Microsoft days or followed you back in those days. And now you and I spend a lot of time talking to each other. So, very excited. And I've got two really big topics I'd love to talk to you about today. But before we do that, in case there's anyone left in the Microsoft partner ecosystem, why don't you just share a little bit about you, your background, and what you're doing today?
Thank you, Rob. And so excited to be on your show as well today. So, Vince Menzione, I've described my career as 4 successful business transformation. I carried a bag in the early days of wireless computing before Wi-Fi, a company up in Mississauga, Ontario, your old stomping
Yeah.
grounds. We went public on the Toronto Exchange. I helped grow that company. We built an influence strategy utilizing partners. We didn't call them partners at the time, but we've worked through other organizations. And then I followed one of the leaders there to go do a turnaround for Golden Gate Capital. And in that company, I was actually asked to go build a new market. And as part of that new market, which was public sector, build a channel and influencer strategy. And so I did that. I built a successful sales team with a channel program. We were the growth engine of that organization. We were spun out. Golden Gate Capital spun us out of a Chapter 11. And within 26 months, they sold us for 10x their cash investment.
Wow.
Several people made a lot of money, including my CEO, who retired immediately. I then followed. The company was General Dynamics. I stayed long enough for the earnout. And then Microsoft called and they recruited me to lead the public sector partner business. And so that's where I got the opportunity to work within Microsoft at a very high level as a GM, leading a $4.6 billion business across federal government, state and local government, education, healthcare. We were the largest partner piece because we didn't sell anything directly in public sector. We worked only through our transactional partners and our resellers and ISVs and so on. That was a great experience. And because of the role in the optics I had, I got to work across the entire organization. So I really got to see how the company did things. And so when I left, it's almost 8 years ago now. I can't believe it's been that long. But I recognized how organizations, I saw the ones that got it right, and there were few and far between. And then I saw the organizations that struggled, and that was like 99.9%. And I wanted to help them. And so I literally started the podcast, Ultimate Guide to Partnering, which has been a super successful format for us and the genesis of the company now. But I started that really interviewing a bunch of friends at Microsoft to help partners understand how to get it right. I'd interview the person who was in charge of the incentives program, and then the people that were in charge of the ISV program or the LSP program, and so on and so on. And I'd walk the hallways of Microsoft, and I'd share information that they weren't getting because Microsoft would do the standard PowerPoint deck at the event, like Inspire, and then they wouldn't meet up with partners again for another year. So this was an always on channel. We were getting we had a lot of great feedback, a lot of amazing guests. I went back inside for 2 years. I did start doing consulting work around the ecosystem, similar to what you do. And then I went back inside for 2 years to the largest software company in the nonprofit sector. That was a great experience, but I recognized that organizations didn't always get it right. On the inside, I got to see a different perspective. And I came out of that during COVID after 2 years, after getting them Partner of the Year status, and we were the largest co-selling partner in 3 industries. I decided to revitalize the podcast and revitalize the business. Started doing some individual consulting, but then also recognized that didn't scale well. And I had partners of all types that wanted support from us. So I thought about, like, how do we make this more of a learning platform? And that's what the journey of Ultimate Partner has been. We've taken it on to a learning platform and community perspective in terms of how we're growing and thinking about it, because we want to reach all partners. I aspire to empower as many partners as possible and bring the great leaders like you into the room to help them solve their greatest challenges, demystify working with Microsoft, and get their greatest results as an organization. So that's what we do. We got a lot of great things in the pipeline we're going to talk to you about today with your amazing listeners and viewers.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for that. And you touched on exactly where I want to go today, which is to talk about the community. But I think it's important to point out that your experience, I mean, your experience for years has been in that channel partner community, and you've seen it both from the inside, you've seen it sort of from the manufacturer side, from the Microsoft side. So I think you bring such a unique perspective to this discussion. And the other thing that really stands out for me is that you've seen, you've been in that sort of ISV shoes or the software partner shoes. So you've had to deal with Microsoft from the outside in too. So not just from the inside out, but
Right.
so I think that's a super important distinction to call out there. And I think you touched on it a little bit, but maybe you can go a little deeper in terms of the real problem you're trying to solve for partners as you're building out this community. This, you call it a learning platform, and I think of it really as truly a community of Microsoft partners. But I'd love to really go deep into what you see as the core problems you're trying to solve.
Yeah, it's a really great question. I'll start with when I left Microsoft, I was looking for something that didn't exist. At least I thought it existed, and it didn't, because I had been on the inside. I thought that leaders like the ones I was meeting with, the partner leaders, were all getting together on their own. Like they had a group or an association. And I was working with large ISVs. I was working with the largest resellers, the LSPs or LARs, we used to call them back in the day, the large SIs, smaller SIs, partners of all types. And I didn't see the place that I expected to see. And I've always been supportive of, and I'll say this, supportive and a member of the IAMCP. But when I went to the IAMCP, I saw just really small partners, and that was great. I understood that, but I didn't see like where are the 500,000? Like there's no like independent association for the 500,000 Microsoft partners out there.
Yeah.
We were calling it the network back in the MPN,
Yeah.
and now it's the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program. Where do they go? Where do they go to? Do they have an independent voice? Do they have their own like partner advisory council where they meet on their own and then go to Microsoft? And then I also started thinking about the hyperscalers in general and recognizing that those same group of partners, that ecosystem that got created when Bill Gates started this thing 42 plus years ago, Google cared about them and AWS cared about them, and so it was the same group of partners, and they were becoming like multi-cloud. Yeah. And so it was the same group, right? It wasn't a group that was selling hardware someplace. It was the cloud group. Yeah. And I recognized that there needed to be a place where they could come, where great learnings could happen, where I could bring, like, I recognize people like you, spoke at my event last year and have offered great workshops and helped a lot of great partners, and others that do what you do, and some are specific to ISVs, or a specific type of partner, or they have a set of skills around marketing or whatever that might be. Like there's no place where they all could come and congregate and do good together. And so that's ultimately the goal, is to create that opportunity for all of us that care about this thing, this partner world, this partner ecosystem, as we refer to it, and want to do good and have a common understanding around cloud and hyperscaler, right? Because we looked at what's been happening the last several years. The role of the hyperscaler went from, oh yeah, that's nice, they do cloud, but we do this other thing over here. Now it's like, oh my goodness, there's $370 billion in durable cloud budgets across those three organizations, and the decisions are now being made at the C-suite level. It's no longer customer making a decision at the CTO or CIO level alone. It's now a big decision process within large corporations and small corporations alike. And the hyperscalers are at the center of that. So the organizations, the partners, need to also be in the center of that, in my humble opinion. And that's what we decided to do. We've been hosting these events now. Last year's event was wildly successful. And coming on the heels of that, we decided to launch the community, Ultimate Partner Experience. We wanted to be more of an experience than just a community. We wanted to be able to bring great leaders like you and others into the room, help educate partners, take all the sessions from our events, provide all the recordings and the content there so people can access that, and just create a place where people could come and have discourse around how to be more successful. And ultimately, our mission is to empower every individual, leader, organization, and partner to achieve more through successful partnering.
I love that. I mean, you're dealing with a couple big problems there. The one specific to Microsoft is, you alluded to this earlier, is there was one big event, or there's a couple events, and then there's nothing. And
Nothing.
it's this gap that as a partner, I'm like, well, how do I stay in touch? How do I stay sort of up to date, and how do I continue the dialogue when Microsoft might come in, do this big show and have this great streaming event, and then that's it, silence. If you're lucky, there might be an ask me later event, but
Yep.
having this, I think this really solves for that problem. And then I'm a big fan of bringing like-minded people together, and I think that's something that's really been missing, in my opinion, even from the days when I was running my own Microsoft partner. Is that you were, I don't want to say you were on an island, but you kind of were. You were like, unless you found one or two CEOs that were either near you or part of a group, you had to go searching for that versus having a place where you are bringing those people together. So I love that you're doing that. And maybe we could talk more tactically about things that you're doing inside the community. But I'd love for you to just call out kind of the experience. If I'm to join the community,
Yep.
what would the experience is like for me?
Well, I think foundationally our events are going to be a big component of that, even moving forward. Like we went from doing maybe one or two things a year. We're going to have a more fluid event schedule going into next year. So like real in person, we're planning to do 4 next year, where this year we did a large and a small. Next year we're thinking 2 large and 2 small. And we might do more than that. So we want to create this because people, when they come to one of our events, there's that sense of like, I value this. I take business away from this. I learn so much from the bidirectional communication. So we want to do more of that in person because we feel that the in-person part is integral to the success. And also as a byproduct of that, we're recording all that content. So workshops and sessions and everything else is available. And we have a portal, which is somewhat unique. We're using a unique portal. We're not, some people just use like a Slack channel or something, but ours is a true portal where you can come into the portal and there are channels where you can have discourse and conversation with others and chats and all. But there is the live or the recorded content from the live events that's available to you. So if you, I remember just recently having a conversation, like a woman who just joined a Microsoft partner, knew nothing about working with Microsoft and had just started a new team up and hired a few people. I said, you could come in and watch this last event we did, and you will learn in 7 to 8 hours as much as if you spent months trying to understand this information, because you're going to hear directly from the leaders. You're going to hear from the experts like you, Rob, and you're going to get a really great understanding and grounding on how to be successful. And then if you want, there's all these other people in the room, and you can ask them for advice, because we were using the term ambassador, but ambassador didn't always feel right. So now we use the term executive. We have executive members that are expert in how to work more successfully with you. We also are starting to get a little bit more deliberate in terms of hosting sessions, like Ask Me Anything type sessions for the community, and then featuring organizations, whether they be executive members like yourself that have a level of expertise in an area, or they might be some of the other technology companies that are also participating in the community there. Maybe you're delivering marketplace technologies or co-selling technologies, some of the technologies that support the partner ecosystem as well. So we're creating a place that didn't exist. Hopefully people will take more advantage of the digital piece, but we also feel that people want to like that in person. And that's why we continue to double down and invest in these live events, these executive summits.
Yeah, I love the cadence there that you're thinking. The quarterly cadence it's nice because you get to go, absorb, and then go back, and you've got time to implement, and then come back, a little bit more information, refine, and get back and implement. So I really do love that cadence. And the other thing that for me that really stands out is the fact that you're curating a ton of content. Like, I mean, it's no secret that you try and find anything in the Microsoft world, like you go to learn.microsoft.com, you could be gone for days. So, I think that for me, one of the things that really stands out is how much energy you're putting into curating the content and helping me find the answers faster.
Yeah, so we're doing some really cool things. First of all, the podcast, right? So, and now we're recording in a studio for many of the episodes. We have a facility down in Boca Raton, about 45 minutes south of where I live here in Jupiter. And we do these sessions there. And we've taken the production level up a couple notches. It costs us more to do it, but we want to create that like really great content and curated content. And then we've infused AI, so you can go in now on our website and you could ask our AI chatbot just about anything, and it's going to show you all the old episodes or content that's out there that references. So I want to understand co-selling on Marketplace, and all of a sudden these 7 sessions pop up, and it takes you right to that content, like specifically to that section where that topic is discussed. So you don't even have to go through, like you said, you get lost in the Microsoft place. But here we've got all these great leaders coming, including Microsoft leaders and Google leaders and AWS leaders coming to our platform and telling how to be successful. So we're making it easier to access that information.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And, pivoting to the topic of events, I know you've got one coming up this year. Could you maybe take a few minutes and talk about that, kind of when it is, where it is, and then really the kind of
I thought you never asked.
So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I mean,
we're super excited about this. So we'll provide links for you for your viewers and listeners. But last year we hosted this event in Dallas, Texas. You were at the event. You spoke at the event, and it was wildly successful. Our SAT scores were 96%. 100% of the people who came to the event, and by the way, we were sold out, said they would come back. And so that was the genesis of starting up the community for sure. But there were limitations. We were using a Microsoft facility. And then we looked at hotels, and I didn't see anything that really struck me, because hotel ballrooms can be kind of like blah. And there's a lot of work to make it look exciting and get people excited. We found this third-party event space right down the block from the Microsoft offices, brand new. They spent millions of dollars on this space, and it's amazing. It's called the Rayleigh Underground. And it has a big stage with an incredible sound and light system, like crazy, millions of dollars just there. 36-foot high digital wall, so we could show PowerPoint slides, we could broadcast anything, we could have people zoom in. And then it has 8 4K cameras, so it's a studio, it's a television studio, so we could stream everything. We don't have to bring in a team and try and record all the content. We could be at it live. And then the space itself is just really cool. It's got a stage and a floor, so people could sit on the floor. But there's all these really cool booths and viewing areas, so you don't have to be sitting in your seat the whole time to get the event. And then there's all these big monitors, so people can walk around and network with one another and have meetings. And at the same time, they might still be seeing a session going on simultaneously. Also, food was like the one thing that was like, people said, hey, the food was just okay at the Microsoft office. Yeah. Well, this has an incredible kitchen. I ate there when I went to visit the facility. They have their own bakery, in fact. Oh, so wow. It's going to be like a really nice experience for everybody. And after the event, it turns into a disco, basically.
Oh, there you go.
And we are going to have a special celebrity. I won't mention any names. Okay. But it's somebody that it's not famous, but a celebrity in the Microsoft world, somebody from the Microsoft world, who's going to be our guest DJ. We just secured that person. And so it's just going to be a fun experience for everybody.
Excellent. And this is in Las Colinas,
It is in Las Colinas. It's technically called Irving, Texas. I think Las Colinas is Irving, right down the block from the Westin and next door to the Toyota Center. So it's in a really nice complex with shops and restaurants and everything right there. And there's several hotels within like very, eye shot of the facility. There's a Marriott across the street. We have 4 hotels available for people to stay at, just really very close by. So it's going to be a great experience, 2 full days. Nice. And what we're doing again, and we did last year, is we're having some Microsoft executives, a little bit of the what and why, the top priorities. I've got Dan Rippey doing our keynote as he did last year, but I've got some other featured executives from Microsoft. Some are not announced yet, but we have some really incredible leaders coming in. And we're going to be talking, our main topics are going to be AI, security, marketplaces. We have the WIT network coming in. Christine Bongard's going to lead a session on women of the ecosystem. That'll be a great session. And that's on day 1. Day 2 is going to be more of the how. And we've got some really great sessions on how to be more successful working with Microsoft. Session on MSEM, a repeat from last year from Elliot Dunlap. which was one of our top rated sessions. And then we'll have some workshops going on as well. So it'll be a really great opportunity. Partners, bring your notepads and pens, because you're going to learn a lot of incredible things in those 2 days. And it's going to be live streamed. I encourage people to come in person, but if you're out of the country or it isn't easy to get to Dallas. Dallas is great because it's close to a lot of places you can get to from most of the U.S. and North America and South America, in fact. But if you can't make it physically be there, you can actually watch the live stream. You have to register, but you can watch the live stream.
Yeah, no, I know. I went last year, and I mean, myself, I learned a ton. There is so much great information, and for me, the power of networking with people there. Microsoft executives were all floating around. I remember getting a chance to speak with Dan Rippey, and Carson Heedy, and there was so many people floating around, and just a lot of great conversations happening. And the way you had organized it, you had lots of time for people to kind of do those sort of impromptu networking. So I'm hoping that that'll be a similar format this year.
Absolutely. Very similar to last year. We're trying to expand the networking time just a little bit, give people a little bit more room to do that. But it's exactly that type of format and that engagement. And then if you get the executive pass, you get invited to the executive dinner, which is I'm encouraging people to do, because that's another opportunity for folks to be in the room with all the sponsors, all the top speakers, all the Microsoft executives that are there, and so on, for that really nice curated experience and executive networking. We've had other people say that's another added value when we do some of these events, of getting that one-to-one time is invaluable.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard to get on their calendar even for a Teams meeting. So
Yeah.
the ability to sit and just be toe to toe with someone from Microsoft and have that live conversation, there's nothing better. So, well, Vince, this has been really amazing. I really appreciate you sharing all that. And safe to say, we'll put a link in the show notes for anyone that's going to register. And I highly encourage you to register in person, because there is nothing better than that. So
thank you, Rob. And looking forward to seeing you in Dallas again. It's going to be here before you know it.
absolutely. Absolutely.